Splashing millions of dollars on a home has become a common trait among the elites since the beginning of time, and it is still happening to this day. These mansions are way bigger than your average home and have unique amenities that would blow your mind. Join me as we take a tour and see some of the biggest mansions in America, the Florham Mansion. First on the list is Florham. This architectural masterpiece is located between Madison and Florham Park, New Jersey, and was built for Hamilton McCown Twombly and his wife, Florence Adele Vanderbilt. When you are a Vanderbilt, I am sure purchasing a home like this wouldn't be an issue. It was their home before it became a part of the Florham campus of Fairleigh Dickinson University. The whole process of building this house cost about $5 million. When recalculating using the dollar rate as of 2017, the amount skyrockets to a whopping $146 million. The Florham Mansion is rich in heritage and history. It was completed in 1899 and remained a property of the Vanderbilts until the 1950s. After the deaths of Florence and her daughter, the house was sold off in an auction, and some of the interiors of the house were gifted to the White House for possible aesthetics. Several chairs from the estate were present in the Oval Office under Presidents George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Donald Trump. The whole process of building this mansion took 6 years, and the building process was handled by the legendary firm McKim, Mead & White. The firm is also known to have been the architect of other historic buildings, like the old Penn Station and the Rhode Island State House. The mansion was built to fit the English Baroque Revival style, which is unique and elegant, and when it was done, it covered 80,000 square feet, or 7,400 square meters, of space. With the number of rooms the building has, this is not a bit surprising. Florham is said to have 110 rooms in it, and seeing that it was once a personal home, I'm wondering how spacious it was for the few people living there. They probably had a whole floor to themselves. I am sure you are thinking, why this many rooms? Well, one, when you have the money, you can do as you please. But I guess they simply loved the Hampton Court Palace so much that they took inspiration from there and decided to build their own. For a house this grand, it is expected that the interior and exterior will also follow suit. The interior was done by the famous Stanford White. The house is said to have several Barberini tapestries, a Louis XV ballroom, and several Renaissance fireplaces purchased from noble Italian homes. The electrical projects in the house included the mansion's heating system and a boiler in a tunnel system beneath the house. The estate also included vast greenhouses, including an orangery that still stands today as part of Fairleigh Dickinson's library, a dairy farm, stables, a gatehouse, and a carriage house. Unfortunately, this mega mansion was split up when multiple deaths struck the Twomblys. Florence and her daughter Ruth's deaths in 1952 and 1954 respectively were major factors in breaking up the estate, and World War II was also a factor. One part of the estate that was occupied by the dairy farm and stables was to be subdeveloped into a corporate park, while the part of the mansion with 178 acres of gardens, the carriage house, and greenhouses were sold in 1957 to Fairleigh Dickinson University, as it was set to be the school's Morris County campus. Renovations were made and it was open to students for use, and since then the mansion has been part of the school. The campus's library reading room is now located in the orangery, while the carriage house was remodeled as the university's science labs. The university has taken care to preserve the estate's history and environment, even though some of it has been renovated for educational purposes. The Versailles. This masterpiece of architecture is seated on a 90,000 square foot area and is located in Windermere, Florida. Although this house is still under construction, it is already one of the biggest houses in America. Due to different circumstances, the house has been under construction since 2004, but as of now it should be completed before the end of 2023. The house was built in the likeness of the Palace of Versailles in France. The name was also coined from the French building. When you are worth millions of dollars, replicating a house you like won't be a problem for you. This mansion is owned by American businessman David Siegel, who was said to have a net worth of $940 million some years ago, according to Forbes. He is the founder of Westgate Resorts, and he used to be the owner of the Orlando Predators, an arena football team, but now he presently owns the Cocoa Beach Pier and the Las Vegas Hotel. The house is going to be a private residence for him, his wife Jackie, and his children. And as the construction process is ongoing, David is going all out. Only a man of this caliber will spend $4 million to get his windows and doors constructed using the rarest materials. I am sure it costs that much because he was the last person person to get his hands on the remaining legal Brazilian mahogany, as the materials that are being used for his windows and doors are now illegal. The mansion is being built on a construction hill on a lakefront property. The amenities of this mansion are as grand as the size of the building. The mansion is said to have 9 kitchens, 14 bathrooms, 3 indoor pools, 2 outdoor pools, a video arcade, and a ballroom with a capacity of 500 to 1,000 people, where you can just throw a party or maybe a wedding. The mansion also has a 2-story movie theater with a balcony inspired by the Palais Garnier, a 20,000-bottle wine cellar, which is probably my favorite, an exotic fish aquarium, 2 tennis courts, a 2-lane commercial-grade bowling alley, a baseball diamond, a formal outdoor garden, and an elevator in the master bedroom closet. Because of the number of years that have passed since building the house, some of the rooms have been changed from their original plans. David Siegel's children are now older, and rooms like the children's playrooms have been switched up to yoga studios, a teenager's cave, and a second movie theater. And now to the exterior of the house. It is as spacious as a compound can be, and the exterior walls of the house are precast concrete with Pavonazzo marble veneer. This house basically has all you need. When you live in such a house, it will be difficult to spend the night somewhere else. It is no wonder the house may appraise for up to $100 million, which will make it the 4th most expensive house in the United States. Meadowbrook Hall. The Meadowbrook Hall, with a floor area of 88,000 square feet, 8,200 square meters, is the next house on the list. The Tudor Revival-style mansion is located in Rochester Hills, Michigan, and was owned by Matilda Dodge Wilson and her second husband, Alfred Wilson. When you are the heiress to the Dodge automaker fortune and you are married to a lumber baron, $4 million won't be too much to splash on a house. To build a house this grand in this day and age would cost multiples of that amount. The mansion was built between 1926 and 1929 by the renowned William E. Kapp of the Smith, Hinchman & Grills architecture firm. He was the architect of the Music Hall Center for the Performing Arts in Detroit, and also the Detroit Historical Museum, among others. It is not shocking that the house took some years to be completed, seeing that it has a total of 110 rooms. Yet another house with 100 rooms. I guess it was a thing among the elites back in the day. The mansion is so distinct and is second to none. No wonder it was named the 4th largest historic mansion museum in the United States and is classified as one of America's castles. The house features original artwork by the likes of Anthony Van Dyck, Rosa Bonheur, Joshua Reynolds, John Constable, and Thomas Gainsborough. These artworks would probably cost a fortune these days, seeing that they are rare in nature. The mansion was built using some limited materials, such as Tiffany glass, whose production stopped in 1933. Some of the very best, like Stickley furniture, Meissen porcelain, and Rockwood pottery, were also used for the construction of rooms in this building. Apart from the mansion, the owners had renowned architect William Kapp construct 2 other buildings on the estate, which are the Knoll Cottage and the Sunset Terrace. The Knoll Cottage, which is dubbed the nation's finest dollhouse, was built in 1926 and is a 6-room miniature, while the other building, a Sunset Terrace, was a retirement home for Matilda and Alfred Wilson on Meadowbrook. Do you know how crazy it is to build a retirement home on your own personal estate? Because you literally have the whole house to yourself. Why build another? Well, as of 1963, the retirement home became the Oakland University President's Home. Other parts of the house were also donated to the state of Michigan in order to fund Michigan State University Oakland, now known as Oakland University. After donating the 1,500-acre estate to Michigan State University, they also donated $2 million to create a branch college campus, now known as Oakland University. The mansion has been home to the Meadowbrook Concours d'Elegance event, which means competition of elegance. The event was one in which prestigious vehicles were displayed and judged in the 1970s. The event was held annually from 1979 to 2010, and it also served as a fundraiser for the preservation of Meadowbrook Hall. The event has now been moved to St. John's and is now known as the Concours d'Elegance of America. With all this rich heritage and history, it is not surprising that the structure was named a National Historic Landmark in 2012 and was also added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1979. Shadow Lawn. The next building is Shadow Lawn, yet another building that is now part of a university's campus. The mansion is located in New Jersey and was built in 1927 for the president of the F.W. Woolworth Company, Hubert T. Parson. Back in 1916, before he purchased the house, it served as the summer White House for President Woodrow Wilson. Hubert purchased the house in 1918 and had to rebuild it in 1927 due to a fire breakout. The fire destroyed the whole building, and when he was done rebuilding, he had spent more than $10 million as of 1928. 1927. To rebuild this mansion, he went all out and retained the noted Gilded Age architect Horace Trumbauer. And the design of the present building is credited to Trumbauer and his assistant, Julian Abel. Unfortunately for him, after spending more than $10 million to rebuild this mansion, it got taken by the town for a ridiculous $100. At the time the reconstruction was taking place, the Great Depression had already started, and the finances of the Parsons were not left out. He tried to get back the money he had used for the reconstruction by selling the house, but he wasn't able to, and in 1939 it was taken by the town for just $100. Parson built this masterpiece, but was unable to live in it. The mansion, which initially had 52 rooms, had more than 100 rooms after the reconstruction, and I think it was a good way to utilize the 90,000 square feet, 8,400 square meters, area the mansion covers. The mansion is 3 stories high. It has a main facade that is more than 300 feet, or 91 meters, wide. The main south facade is divided into 3 bays and is framed by a single-story portico with Doric columns. The second and third floors are separated by a dentil cornice, and the roof is surrounded by a balustrade with sculptures mounted on some of the corner columns. There are more than 100 rooms inside, and the public areas are opulently furnished. The mansion also has an interior courtyard that is 100 feet or 30 meters long, with a covering skylight. Its walls are adorned with plaster pilasters and arched window openings. A well-hidden Aeolian Skinner organ can be found in the main hall, and the basement has a bowling alley that was rarely used while the Parsons owned the building. The exterior of the house is just as flamboyant as the interior. The exterior garden landscape was designed by the French landscape architect Achille Duchesne. Well, the uniqueness and the architectural style of the mansion made it a National Historic Landmark in 1985, and it was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1978 for its significance in art, architecture, and landscape architecture. Presently, the mansion is owned by Monmouth after the estate's purchase. The current building was renamed Woodrow Wilson Hall to recognize Wilson's tenure in the preceding Shadow Lawn, but the building returned to its Shadow Lawn name in 2020. The building has also had a fair share of screen time, as it was the building that was used to portray Oliver Warbucks' mansion, played by Albert Finney, in the film Annie. Winterthur. The next mansion on the list is the Winterthur, which is now the Winterthur Museum, Garden, and Library. It is an American estate and museum located in Winterthur, Delaware. The estate, that sits on a 96,582 square foot space, was home to American horticulturalist Henry Francis DuPont from 1880 to 1969. Henry Francis DuPont inherited this mansion from his father and switched it up to what it is now. As of when it was inherited, the estate had 90 buildings, over 2,600 acres. If you think that's a lot, then you will be surprised to know that Henry still expanded this building to accommodate what he wanted to use it for. The building, which used to have 30 rooms, now has 175 rooms, including many period rooms from when he expanded the building. Henry had a taste for ancient aesthetics, and for the interior design of the house, he had architectural elements from the 17th through the 19th century fitted in his home, and he had wood interior paneling from buildings such as the Graham House, Belle Isle, and Mornington. For the exterior, seeing that he is a horticulturalist, it isn't surprising that the gardens of the house were supervised by him. He had gardens near the home. He also had trees planted and beautiful landscaping across the grounds of the estate. For his obvious love of plants, he had 12 temperature-controlled greenhouses on the estate. He also had a 23-acre wide orchard, a 5.5-acre vegetable garden, and a 4-acre cutting garden. Since there's nothing like too many plants in his books, he decided to have 6 garden follies across the estate, and these follies were featured in an exhibition that ran from 2018 to 2020. Some of the features the estate had were a butcher shop and a sawmill, which is smart to have since most of the 175 rooms would have at least one piece of furniture. He also had a tannery and a dairy. The dairy was said to be the breeding home of award-winning Holstein cattle. Having done so much construction to expand the estate, he decided to segment the buildings. He formed the Winterthur Library and loaded it with the many rare books and manuscripts he had accumulated over time. The Winterthur Library now holds more than 87,000 books and 800,000 manuscripts and images. He also established the museum in the main building, made it a public museum for American decorative arts. He also established the museum in the main building, made it a public museum for American decorative arts, and moved to a smaller mansion on the estate with his family. He continued to live there until he died. Presently, Winterthur has the main museum, which includes the period rooms and offices, the cottage, the home of H.F. DuPont after the opening of the museum, Museum, the gallery's display area, the research building, and also the visitor center. The museum has been called the largest and richest museum of American furniture and decorative arts in the world, and it is said to house the richest collection of Americana in the world. Arden House. The Arden House is a historic estate in the northwest corner of Manhattan, New York. This mountaintop estate covers a 9,188 square foot lot. The house was bought at an auction in 1883 by Harriman, an American financier and railroad executive, for $52,500. After a while, he added more acres to the one he already owned and constructed a mega mansion with the help of the famous New York City architectural firm Carrera and Hastings, who later designed the New York Public Library and the Frick Collection. His dream home took 2 years to be completed, and after it was done, it turned out to be an architectural gem. With its unique interior and exterior, the mansion is second to none. The amenities of this house include a unique music room that was modeled after a medieval great hall. On a tour of the room, corbel carvings of bighorn sheep can also be found in the music room. There is also a swimming pool and athletic facilities that include a tennis court. The house basically has everything it needs to accommodate its guests. The decorations of the house are no exception to luxury. From the chandeliers to the linings of the staircase, they were all creatively placed to fit the mansion's style. The house also features numerous creative decorations by a number of American artists. The mansion also has a fireplace that was used to accommodate a bas-relief portrait of Harriman that was done beautifully by James Earl. The corridors of the house are also exceptional, as murals were used to beautify them, giving them the feel of an art gallery. For instance, the brick corridor is lined with murals around the central courtyard, and the Indian corridor on the second floor of the house has photographs of Native Americans taken during the Harriman-Alaska expedition of 1899. The mansion also has a fountain in the interior court, and you can also find another fountain, the Three Graces, in the apartment, as well as your not-so-regular fireplace that is made from marble. The linings of the staircase were also creatively done, as they included tapestries that showed the process of creating the house. Moving to the exterior of the house, it has a large space that has been devoted to proper lawns and greenery, and the house also has a lake that covers 125 acres for all kinds of water activities, including fishing and the like. Apart from all these amenities, the estate is popularly known for its conference room. The conference center is capable of accommodating 120 guests, in addition to its 97 guest rooms. The conference room is said to be America's first conference center. The unique historic mansion, including a 125-acre private lake surrounded by 110,000 acres of park and preservation lands, has also changed ownership and now belongs to the Research Center on Natural Conservation. This mega mansion that was identified as America's first conference center and became a National Historic Landmark in 1966 is probably worth hundreds of millions in today's market, given all its amenities, and of course, its large space that can be converted to anything. The One. The next house on the list is The One. The name of this building says it all. Niall Niami was on a quest to build one of the biggest houses in the USA after dabbling in movie production, and I can say he did quite well. Although the house took several years to be completed due to some delays, it was completed in 2021. After its completion, it was sold to Richard Sagian, the owner of Fashion Nova, after failed attempts to get it off the market. After creating this mansion that covers an area of 105,000 square feet, Niall ended up creating the most expensive house in the United States of America. This architectural masterpiece is the one to beat, with its unique exterior and all of its luxurious decorations, and also unique amenities. With the amenities of this house, there is nothing lacking. It has 21 tastefully decorated bedrooms, more than 40 exquisite bathrooms, and multiple nicely decorated kitchens and table settings that any restaurant would want to have. With the money invested in this home, it is not surprising that you have everything you need in the comfort of your home. It features a nightclub, as well as a 4-lane bowling alley. It also has a salon, a gym, a movie theater that is big enough to accommodate 50 people, a running track, a library, multiple swimming pools, and a garage that can park at most 50 cars. One would think that all these amenities were enough, but they weren't quite done. They went ahead and created a cigar lounge for those who prefer to relax with a stogie, and a wine cellar that can hold up to 10,000 bottles of wine for the wine connoisseurs that we're going to be visiting. For the main rooms, the main bedroom in the house is as big as most of the apartments in New York City. The bedroom is reportedly 5,000 square feet in size. It includes an office, a sizable his and hers closet, and its own sitting room. It's basically an apartment on its own. There is also a 4,500 square foot guest house on the property for visitors who would rather stay in a different building entirely. The house has incredible views in its interior. that'd make one not miss the outside. The decorations in the house are also elegant. From the chandeliers to the other furniture, it is obvious that the goal was to create luxury. It could have been more, but due to a financial setback that Niall faced when building, they weren't able to complete all that was intended for this house. It would have had a jellyfish room. Yes, you heard that right. A room filled with glass walls filled with tanks of live jellyfish, and also an ice bar that was supposed to be a wet bar hewn entirely from a massive block of ice. His pocket was hurt so much that the intended amount of $295 million that the house was put up for wasn't even met, as it was sold at an auction for way less, at $126 million. After taking a look at the interior, let's move on to the outward appearance of the house. For the exterior, when you look at it, it is probably what someone like Batman would live in. The house is basically all glass on the outside. It was definitely worth the wait after the years it took to get completed. The house has also gained popularity and even made it to TV as the backdrop for the Loot episode of the Apple TV Plus series, Oheka Castle. Next on the list is Oheka Castle. The architectural gem is the second biggest mansion in the US and the largest private home in New York. Its name was derived from the acronym using the first several letters of each part of its creator's name, Otto Hermann Kahn. The mega mansion was built between 1914 and 1919 for the investment financier and philanthropist Otto Hermann Kahn and his family. The house was grand in size and also influential, as it served as partial inspiration for Gatsby's estate in The Great Gatsby. The 109,000 square foot mansion was an idea that Kahn had after his previous country home was destroyed by fire. To keep this from repeating itself, he had his architects design it in steel and concrete, which made it one of the first completely fireproof residences. Before that, he made sure that an artificial hill was provided for the home to be placed on, to give it a view of Cold Spring Hills and Cold Spring Harbor. It took them 2 years to get the artificial hill all set up for the building. Unfortunately, after his death, the castle took a turn as it changed ownership over the years and ended up being abandoned. Then in 1984, a Long Island developer named Melius purchased the building and embarked on the quest to restore the castle to its lost glory. The gardens and every part of the house needed a facelift, and Melius made all this happen. All that was done to restore this castle made it the largest private residential renovation project in the United States. After all these renovations, Melius sold it for $22.5 million. But then again, the owners were not able to sustain the mansion with their hard work, and Melius stepped in once more to buy the castle. Considering all the hard work and money he invested in the building, I'm sure he wasn't going to watch it get destroyed again. He bought the castle and converted it into a luxurious hotel that offers luxurious hospitality. The castle now operates as a venue for weddings and events, a luxurious hotel, and a conference center. Presently, the castle has 32 guest rooms and suites and has been the host of some of our favorite celebrity weddings. It has been a venue for the weddings of Curtis Martin, Kevin Jonas, Megyn Kelly, Joey Fatone, Brian McKnight, former U.S. Congressman Anthony Weiner, and comedian Giannis Papas. It has also had its moments on TV, with episodes for TV series like Royal Pains and The Path being shot there, among others. It has also been the location for a couple of movies, music videos, photo shoots, and the like. Well, if you don't have a wedding but you want a tour of the estate and its gardens, that can also be arranged, and you can also visit its bar and restaurant on the tour. The masterpiece, which is also known as Otto Kahn Estate, was listed on the National Register of Historic Places and is a member of Historic Hotels of America, the official program of the National Trust for Historic Preservation. Blitmore Estate. The last mansion on the list is the Blitmore Estate, which is the largest privately owned building in the United States. The work of art is located in North Carolina and is now a tourist attraction due to its rich heritage and history. This mansion is the second house on the list that is owned by a Vanderbilt. The Blitmore Estate was home to George Washington Vanderbilt II and is still part of the family. It took the architects of this masterpiece 6 years to complete it, and honestly, no one would question them using that number of years to build a mansion that sits pretty on a 178,926 square foot lot. The main house of the estate needed the efforts of 1,000 workers to stand. With a space like this, it is not surprising that the house is said to have 250 rooms, out of which 35 are nicely furnished bedrooms for family and guests. The mansion also has 43 bathrooms, 65 fireplaces, and 3 kitchens. A man who has a vision of this type of house won't be lacking in elegant taste. For the interior of the house, he made sure it had all the finest things you could think of, from tapestries to opulent decorative objects. The house isn't short on luxury. The house has forced air heating, centrally controlled clocks, fire alarms, and a call bell system. For the interior of the mansion, your first point of contact will be the marbled entrance hall that leads to different luxurious rooms in the house. And just to the side is the octagonal sunken winter garden that is surrounded by stone archways with a ceiling of architecturally sculpted wood and multifaceted glass. The house also has a banquet hall, which is the largest room in the house, and its table is big enough to accommodate 64 people. What would an elite's house be without a hall to accommodate his guests? There is also a music room and a 2-story library that has a secret passage to the guest room. The entrance leading to the second floor is the cantilevered grand staircase, which has 107 steps and wraps around a 4-story wrought iron chandelier with 72 light bulbs. On the second floor, there's a second living hall that is an extension of the grand staircase and serves as a formal hall and portrait gallery for several large-scale masterpieces. The other suites in the house are the damask room with silk damask draperies and distinct damask-style wallpaper, the Claude room, the Tyrolean chimney room, and lastly, the Louis XV room, which is the most grand of all the rooms. The third floor of the house has guest rooms, while the fourth floor has 21 bedrooms that are a resting place for female servants. The Blitmore estate also has a room called the billiard room in the bachelor's wing of the house. It features a custom-made pool table and a carom table, as well as an ornamental plaster ceiling and rich oak paneling. The wing houses the gun room as well as the smoking room. The activity areas are located on the basement level and include a bowling alley, a gymnasium, and an indoor heated swimming pool with underwater lighting. The service hub of the house is also found in the largest basement in the U.S. It holds the main kitchen, pastry kitchen, rotisserie kitchen, walk-in refrigerators, the servants' dining hall, laundry rooms, and additional bedrooms for staff. Last but not least, the house's conservatory has many flowers and trees growing in it, and there is also an elevated model railway. With all these amenities, it is not surprising that the house is valued at $157.2 million. If it were up for grabs, it'd be the most expensive in the country. The estate has also frequently served as a filming location for motion pictures and television shows. I could go on and on about the Blitmore estate, because there is actually a lot to talk about. But there we have it, the last one of the biggest mansions in America. Well, all interesting videos must come to an end, but there's more where that came from. Just click on one of the cards on the screen to enjoy more videos.